I am not going to put my name in to be the best Christian in church. I just want you to know, Jim. I think we can all say, as Paul did, wretched person that I am, when we recognize our sin. But today seems to be a morning for talking about what God has done even in our early days. So when I was a young woman, which has been a few years ago now, I had a real crisis of faith. The church that I grew up in and the leaders of that church had failed. That's neither here nor there, but I realized that all of my faith was built on a religion, and that I really didn't know what God thought about much of anything. About that time, we moved out of state, so I was a stranger in a strange land, and I was desperate to know what God thought. So I opened my Bible in Genesis, and I read through to Revelation. First time through, not quite so sure. So I did it again. Genesis to Revelation. Things are beginning to make some sense to me. Third time through, there were verses that just leaped off the page and grabbed me in that year. And one of those verses was John 10:27 that says, "My sheep listen to my voice. I know them, and they follow me." And I began praying, "Lord, you are the good shepherd. I'm one of your sheep, but I don't know how to hear your voice. I don't think I hear your voice." And so began this delightful conversation between the Lord and I in such sweet and personal ways that only He and I knew. Sometimes it would be like an inside joke, but it was this beautiful thing of hearing God's voice. So fast forward a little bit more, we moved to a new town. I'm now a new stranger in a new place. And I was going grocery shopping, young mom, little child, and it was in the 70s. So every time you show up at the grocery store, your knees are knocking together because you don't know if green beans are going to be 5 cents more a can this week than last week. I think that sounds kind of familiar today. But I went into the store and there's this huge display, and it was stoneware dishes, which was like, whoa, because all we had was scratched up Melmac. And they were beautiful, and I felt the Lord whisper in my heart, "You're going to have a set of 8. I was like, oh, that's too cool. That's too cool. So the deal was, you buy groceries, they give you stamps, you collect them. At the end of the period, you get to turn them in, you get your set of stoneware. So I was so happy collecting my little stamps, putting them in my little book. But the very last day of the promotion, I didn't have enough for 1 place setting, let alone 8. And I was getting involved in a church, and I was going to a women's Bible study, and that day we were going to be having a potluck. So I was driving there, and on the way there, I was saying to myself, stupid, stupid, stupid. Why would you think? I mean, where did you even get in your head? What is wrong with you? Why would God care if you get stoneware or not? I mean, stupid. Why are you're taking this way too far, this whole God talking to you thing. I mean, I think you need to get maybe your head checked, because stupid, you don't have enough for even 1. And it was so embarrassing. Like, nobody knew it but me. So thank God nobody knew it but me. But I thought, how stupid am I? So I went to Bible study. We are all sitting there at the very end, and they asked me if I'd play my flute, which I played a flute, and we had a little bit of song, and then they said, "Hey, does anybody have any kind of prayer request or anything they'd like to share?" And I felt this thing almost like a burp, and it was the Lord saying, "Tell them about the dishes." And I thought, are you out of your mind? I mean, tell them about the dishes. What, to humiliate myself? To let them know what kind of a loony bin they're sitting in the room with? Because I was brand new. I didn't want them to not like me anymore. But I couldn't get past it. Tell them about the dishes. And there was this woman sitting there in a rocking chair doing some knitting. And finally it was like, okay, whatever. If they hate me and say don't ever come back, okay, I'm telling them. So I started telling them, saying, you're going to think I'm kind of a crazy person. But at the grocery store, they started this whole thing with stoneware dishes. And I actually thought God said to me that I was going to have place settings for 8. And I don't even have enough for 1. And I'm just feeling kind of disappointed and kind of like, I don't know what to think about all that. And the woman in the rocking chair stopped her rocking, stopped her knitting, put down her knitting needles, and just stared at me. And I thought, oh dear, I have totally blown it here. Then she bent over, she picked up a bag, and she started pulling stamps out of that bag and laying them in my lap. And she pulled out enough stamps for me to fill enough books exactly for 8 place settings of stoneware dishes. So the only reason why I'm telling you that story is that sometimes if you ask God to speak to you, you listen to his voice, and you actually follow the promptings when he's saying, do it, do it, do it, you might look a little foolish. You just might. That's the risk. People might think you're a little crazy. That's the risk. But so often what God is doing is going to be a blessing and faith builder for everybody involved. And that's, I look back on that, I know it sounds silly, but I look back on that as a faith builder for me, but then for the women to hear, because the lady in the rocking chair said, I was going to dump this out in the trash on my way here, but I was running late and didn't get around to it. She was going to dump the stamps out, but didn't. Wonder how that happened. Anyway, so Jesus said in all 4 Gospels, and I think we need to hear this, he said, if anyone has ears to hear, let him hear. And I pray that each one of us, each day, when we get up in the morning, we say, Lord, speak to me, speak to my heart, and help me to hear and recognize your voice and what you would have me doing, because I believe he truly does want us to be reaching out to people, speaking words that will change their lives in a way that maybe we haven't thought of. And he might ask us to do unexpected things, but it's okay. We can trust him.